Horror games are an incredibly popular genre of gaming, with games designed to scare the player as much as possible. But I've never made a horror game. So here's the challenge. In this video, I'm making my first ever horror game in 24 hours. So I have 24 hours to try and make the scariest game possible. Let's see how we go. This video has been sponsored by Outstandly. When it comes to making a game, one of the most important things is how your game looks. You could have the best game concept ever, with the best programming ever, but if your game doesn't look good, you may be missing out on a ton of players. That's where Outstandly comes in. Outstandly is a game art outsourcing studio who can provide you with custom 2D, 3D, and VR game art, animations, and UI. And I don't even need to tell you their quality of work. Take a look for yourself. Outstandly can make your game look incredible, so you can focus more on development. All you need to do to get started is tell them about your game and what you need, and they'll deliver you a personal quote. Outstandly work with you across the entire process of creating your game art, so you can give feedback and ask for corrections at any time. So if you'd like some awesome game art created for your project, head on over to Outstandly through my link in the description. Tell them BadGameDev sent you as well, and they'll give you a bonus. Now, let's make a horror game. So firstly, we had to figure out an idea for our game. With artificial intelligence being a popular thing recently, I thought it would be interesting to make a horror game based around AI. So I came up with the idea for a game called Clone AI. Basically, you play as a programmer who has developed an AI program called Clone AI, which can be used to create clones, and let's just say his test of the program fails. To get started, I downloaded some free assets for the game, including a character and some dungeon tiles, which gave me some direction for the style of this game. I wanted to go with a black and white style, because firstly, have you seen my pixel art? But also because I thought it added a creepy feel to the game, but mainly because have you seen my pixel art? Anyway, now that our game had some sprites, it was time to make a player movement system. I kept the movement system simple and made it so the player could walk left and right. After that, I added running. Then I slowed down the running because this is a horror game. Then I removed running completely because this wasn't just a horror game. I was trying to make the scariest game possible. Then I realized the game was too slow, so I added running back into the game. But I also added a stamina system. The way the stamina system works is that the player can only run for a short amount of time before they run out of stamina. After this, they need to wait for their stamina to replenish. If they try to run before their stamina is fully replenished, they won't be able to run for very long. Since this was a horror game, I felt like this was a nice addition. The next thing we needed to make was the clone. Now what? So the whole idea of the game is that the player created a test clone and the test clone tries to attack the player. So to do this, I made it so that the clone follows the player. Alright, now that we had a player and a clone that follows the player, we actually needed an objective for the game. The objective for the game was that the player had to work their way through to a main computer to shut off the clone. To do this, the player would have to work their way through the entire map to get to the main computer. So to create the map, we needed to add doors. Basically, the way doors worked in this game is that a player could go up to a door and press E to enter the door and come out through another one. After I had a working door system, I created a map for the game and just added a bunch of doors. Eventually, after going through a bunch of doors, you would get to the main computer. The next thing I added was an intro for the game, explaining the objective, and a menu where you could start the game. Now, here's the thing, the challenge was almost over, and I didn't even have a full game. Sure, you could create a clone, the clone would follow you, you could walk through a whole bunch of doors, but it wasn't really a game. So I decided to add an ending, with a twist. The player was a clone the whole time. Basically, when you get to the last room with the main computer in it, there's already somebody standing at the computer. They turn around and say, I see my clones are getting pretty good, and then boom, they delete the player. Who, yeah, was a clone. Okay, I know the ending sucks, but hey, at least we had an ending. And now that we had a beginning, an ending, and some basic gameplay, all we had to do was make it scarier. To make the game scarier, we're adding different horror tropes. The horror game genre has plenty of different tropes that game developers use to make their games scary, and to make their games fit the horror genre. So let's add some to our game. The first trope I added was atmosphere sounds. Now, this one is pretty simple. Basically, not adding any music to our game and only adding atmosphere sounds just made the game seem a lot creepier. For example, here's what our game would be like with music, and here's our game with atmosphere sounds. The next trope I added was a dark environment. Now, when I say I added a dark environment, I didn't really add it. It was sort of just there from the black and white style, but yeah. The next trope I added was sound effects. Now, sound effects were not really a horror trope, but certain sound effects can enhance the horror game experience. For example, we added sounds for footsteps, opening doors, and jump scares. Which, speaking of jump scares, the next trope I added were jump scares. Jump scares are some of the most common horror game tropes, so we had to add some to our game. Basically, I just added a few more clones around the map and made it so they start chasing you out of nowhere. The next trope I added were puzzles. A lot of horror games had puzzles, so I thought it made sense to add one to our game, especially because we had a lot of doors in our game. So why not add a puzzle required for unlocking one? The puzzle I added was a scary maze game inspired puzzle, where you would work your way through a maze using the mouse. Now, on the final level, there are two different endings, one of which will complete the puzzle and unlock the door, and the other one, well, you guessed it, had another jump scare. Anyway, since our game was obviously the scariest game ever at this stage, I only needed to add a few more tropes. The next trope we added was realistic combat mechanics. I added a gun to the game so that you could take out some of the clones, but I made it so you only had 5 bullets. Now, the last thing I needed to add to my game was a key for the final door. The reason I added a key for the final door is because it brings the game together, and it makes it so you have to complete the maze puzzle, find the gun, and actually gives the player something to do in the game. And there we go, our game was complete. Now, before I play it, if you would like to play this game, it is available for free on itch.io with my link in the description. Also, if you'd like to download the source code for this game, it's available on my Patreon over at patreon.com/badgamedev or with my link in the description. Anyway, let's play the game. And here we are with our game, Clone AI. So as you can see, we're on the menu here and we can create a clone and the game will start. So yeah, let's create a clone. And there we go, our clone has been created and oh, he's following me, this is not good. So yeah, basically the idea is you just don't want to get attacked by the clone pretty much, else yeah, game over. All right, so let's create another clone and try again. So as you can see, the clone has been created and it's following me again. So let's run away this time. All right, get to our first door here, press E to enter. So the first thing you may notice when playing this game is that there's a lot of doors. Honestly, I don't even know what ones to go through. So let's just go through some doors and see if we can find our way through the map, I guess. So let's go through this one. All right, let's skip that middle one there, go to this end one and go through it. And oh, locked. All right. So it's locked. So this is obviously the final door of the game, the door that we need to get through to beat the game. But I need a key for this door. So yeah, let's go back, I guess. All right, so let's go through this door and I'm gonna go through this door, and there we go. All right, we found something. So it looks like we found the maze puzzle. So let's jump in and try to complete the maze, I guess. All right, so obviously click here, and let's try this. So yep. Now, what one should I go with? Should I go with the jump scare, or should I complete the maze? I think I'm gonna complete the maze. Yes, there we go. All right, so the door should be unlocked now, and should be able to go in here and see what's next. Oh, no, that's not what we want. All right. So obviously from here, what I need to do is I need to find the gun because I'm not going to be able to get past that enemy there. All right, so let's make our way back through this door and I guess we'll go through this door as well. And that is the clone. That is the clone. So let's get out of there. Okay, so the gun is actually in the main room. So if you enter the door and you quickly run past the clone while he's not in a follow state, you should be able to walk past him. And the gun is pretty much near the front here. So you should be able to just grab that and boom, take him out. Now he will respawn and he will keep respawning, but if you take him out quick enough, you should be able to just run past him again. All right, so let's go through here. Let's make our way back to that room that had the enemy. And then past that enemy there, we can run. There should be a key. Nice. And then this key will unlock the final door. And there we go. We made it to the end. Here we go. All right. I see my clones are getting pretty good. And then boom, deleted, and yeah, that's the game. Anyway, that's gonna do it. Thanks again to Outstandly for sponsoring this video. Please be sure to check them out with my link in the description if you want to get some awesome game art made for your project. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, feel free to leave a comment, and you can also subscribe. Peace.